you for visiting my classroom. My name is Miss Daniel and I currently teach 3rd grade mathematics. In this video, I'd like to highlight several instructional tools I've used with my students during the month of November as a way to share ideas with a virtual professional learning community. You might think of this showcase as a sort of show and tell for teachers. In featuring these items I will share my honest reviews and comment about how my students engaged with the product or service. The items I feature may range from do-it-yourself center ideas to websites to school purchase manipulatives. Please note that I am not being compensated to promote any of the items that I feature. Each month I'll share new tools that I'm using in my classroom, and I would love to hear other teachers' reviews of the products that I mention. You can do this by leaving a comment in the comment section below this video or even sending a video response. Either way, I certainly love to hear from you. Let's go ahead and get started with my first instructional favorite of the month. This month, students were investigating telling time to the nearest hour, half hour, quarter hour, and even minute. To review these skills and solidify this skill for other students, I used a game entitled Timing It Right, and it is produced by Learning Resources. You can obtain this game for $24.99. You can even find it cheaper than that on sites such as Amazon or eBay. And the Timing It Right game is, again, produced by Learning Resources. And what I like about this game is that it is a self-checking game that provides hands-on time-telling practice for students. Basically, the object of the game is to complete your day from getting up in the morning to the very end of the day at bedtime, and to see who can accomplish that task first. What I really like is that this board is made out of really heavy cardstock. It's really sturdy, so it will last you in your classroom for years. The pieces included are the board game, a flip card that contains the directions as well as the activities that the students complete throughout the game, a clock. This clock is pretty thin cardboard, and so I supplemented the clock with that came with the game with the standard Judy time clocks that we have that are a little bit heavier for multiple use. And then it also comes with three player pieces, but I found that you can add upwards of 5 players to this game without compromising how the game is played. And it also comes with a time die here. What I like about this game is that it comes with very simple directions. This is it for the directions page for students. It's written in kid-friendly language so they understand how the game is played. And also, it's self-checking. Basically, as students complete the different activities that they engage in throughout the day, they start with a start time, and then as they roll the die, they have to add that amount of minutes or time to their current time, either progressing forward in the day or sometimes waiting or other activities that might happen throughout the day. They first have to display that time on the clock, and then they can go to the matching tab based off of where they are in their day. And these tabs correspond with what's on the board. And here on the board, or on the cards, it actually will show students what their clock should look like and how they can match up the clocks. So again, it's a game that students can engage in independently at center activity times. I also like that there's lots of visual supports for students, and that basically learners at all different levels can interact with this game. It's also just pretty fun. For example, when students are in music class, they have to, as one activity, if they land on this time, hum a silly song, or name 2 famous musicians, or need silence, roll again, or sing a line from your favorite song. And so you kind of hear them interacting with this game, going through their schedule, and they really enjoyed it. So again, I really enjoyed this game as a way to support telling time throughout this month. I also wanted to just mention this week students are looking more at getting into elapsed time, and a website that has an instructional activities that are superb, especially for the elapsed time activity that we're doing, is the What Time Will It Be game, and that's by the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives. You have got to check it out. You will love it. Your students will love it. Again, it's self-checking, it's differentiated and paced. It is absolutely excellent. So again, the name of that game is called What Time Will It Be? And you'll find that at the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives. Definitely check that out. My next instructional favorite is actually a book, and it is titled Accessible Mathematics, 10 Instructional Shifts That Raise Student Achievement. It's authored by Stephen Linewood, and what I like about this book is that it is one of the best professional development books I've come across in several months. What I like about it is that first, just by looking at the size, it's not intimidating. It's something that you can just spend a few minutes reading whenever you have free time. It's a 90-page read, so it's not intimidating, and it's accessible material from the novice mathematics teacher to the experienced mathematics teacher. It focuses on practical examples of small adjustments that can lead to huge improvements in student learning and deeper understanding of mathematics. When I was reading the material and the book and the suggestions, it really fostered, and I can do that. These are realistic changes that I can make in my classroom. I liked that. To implement these strategies, it doesn't require any extra resources, so you don't feel overwhelmed in that process. And how he explains the implementation is very efficient. Implementing these strategies would be very duplicatable across a school team. And he also suggests ways that you can become consistent in implementing these instructional shifts. And so it seems like this book is just extremely realistic. He gives you everything you need to put his common sense ideas into practice. Another great thing is that the strategies and the shifts in this book can be used across all grade levels, so kindergarten upwards of high school, 12th grade. So you really get that flexibility with this book. With math teachers, anyone can read this and take away the suggestions that he provides. Even though the book, it was published in 2008, it's not promoted as being, 2009, excuse me, it's not promoted as being Common Core aligned, but it is aligned with Common Core teaching and learning theory. In regards to the shifts that are happening with the Common Core, and so it would be a great read. I will actually be doing an action research project with this book where I will be showing how I have implemented these 10 instructional shifts and the impact that they are having on my teaching and learning and my students' learning over the next 10 weeks. So definitely be sure to check back at this channel, Curriculum Clicks, to follow how I was able to implement these strategies and really showcase to teachers how effective this professional development book is. You've got to get your hands on it. It retails for $14.99, but I've seen it on Amazon and eBay, used copies for as low as $5. So definitely check out this book. My next instructional favorite for the month was a book that I used for my students. And the title of this book is called Each Orange Had 8 Slices, a Counting Book by Paul Gigante Jr. Pictures by Donald Cruz. And what I loved about this book is that I used it to trigger students thinking about our upcoming study with multiplication I love the illustrations that are provided in this book. It's also self-checking along the way, and it really opens students a real-world context of addition and grouping and even drawing arrays. I'll read you a page. The book follows this predictable pattern. And for example, on this page it says, "On my way home, I passed 3 yellow houses. Each yellow house had 3 red flower pots. Each flower pot had 5 blue flowers. How many yellow houses were there? How many red flower pots were there? How many blue flowers were there in all?" And so it goes through these different scenarios on each page. And what I really liked is that this book can be read in one sitting. It only takes probably no more than 15 minutes to read. However, it's great to kind of anchor students or pique their curiosity in the beginning of a lesson. Perhaps if you went through several pages and had them use pictures to illustrate their math thinking and understanding of what's happening here in the book, or even at the end of a lesson as a way to even use as an exit ticket. And so I really enjoyed using this book. It's a great read and students like it, and then they begin to make real world connections such as different things that they see in their house or school or clothing about how grouping is used in everyday life. In conjunction with using this book, I have a manipulative that I was able to get my hands on that virtually everyone can use at no additional cost. And it is an egg carton. When we were talking about groupings and using pictured illustrations, I know that I have several students who have restricted mobility in their hands. So sometimes drawing is a very kind of tedious process for them, or it might not be a learning style of one of the students in your classroom. Perhaps they're a little bit more kinesthetic or need movement and not opposed to or not necessarily with drawing. And so egg cartons are a great way to visually represent groups. For example, and they don't cost any additional money. This is something that I use for my personal grocery shopping list, or you can have students to bring in their emptied egg cartons out. And so the groups are already here, established for you. And so, for example, some students chose to illustrate while other students chose to use their egg cartons. And when we discussed how we would show that there were 3 red flower pots and that each flower pot had 5 blue flowers, they were able to visually see, well, these are my 3 groups, and using small manipulatives, place 5 manipulatives into each grouping. And then, of course, at the end, they were able to count their repeated groups. It shows their repeated addition, which again fosters their understanding eventually of multiplication, and it's a visual representation of what's happening. It's tactile, and again, won't cost you anything to use this strategy. This concludes my November favorites. I hope that you found some helpful resources that you can use in your classroom. And again, please be sure to comment or send a video response of materials and resources you've used in your classroom and how you've enjoyed them. I'd certainly love to hear from you. Again, please be sure to rate this video and to subscribe for future videos on this channel. I look forward to seeing you guys next month. And to keep up with my classroom on a weekly basis, you can visit my classroom blog at www.msdanielsclassroom.edublogs.org. I will see you next month.